What's up, everyone? A very good morning, afternoon, or evening, wherever you are on planet Earth, wherever you may be watching right around the world. Welcome to Straight Up Rugby's Hardball. Now, this week, I have two very special guests. We'll be talking arguably some of the most hottest and probably the most burning issue in Sri Lankan rugby. That's referee. Joining me today, I have the chairman and president of the Sri Lanka Rugby Referee Society, Mr. Tony Amit, and arguably Sri Lanka's number one on-field referee, Mr. Atil Jamaldeen. Mr. Amit, Mr. Jamaldeen, welcome to the show.
Hi, how are you?
Welcome.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for inviting us.
Well, thank you for accepting my invitation and coming on the show, so that I can ask you some very difficult and tough questions, for which we will give you the opportunity to safely answer and hopefully educate the rugby community, because as you know, the refereeing has been a hot topic for a number of years, and it's kind of like a pressure cooker. It's been building and building and building. I think this is the perfect time and perfect opportunity to talk about these issues and give you gentlemen an opportunity. So first of all, let me start by going to you, Tony. With the lockdown, how has the lockdown affected the referees, and what's currently happening, and what's going on with the referees during lockdown?
Currently, what they were doing is they were training on their own, and which they always used to send me some clips of how they train at home. That's all they could do. They couldn't do very much other than that. It was only their training at home that they did. Whatever they got from equipment, they got it, and they were doing on their own. That's the only way they could have done, and there's nothing else they could have done. Or maybe run at home right from the house.
Akhil, I'm going to come to you. So, as arguably the country's best referee, what have you been up to, and what are the current referees, and what's the setup right currently with the Referee Society of Sri Lanka?
First of all, I would like to thank ThePapare and for inviting us and giving this opportunity to talk about from our perspective. And the second of all, the lockdown has been really good. We have been working out, posting on Instagram maybe, and for the players as well, the best opportunity to to cure their injury, because their injury. It's a great opportunity for us as well as the players, and been reviewing some games, past games, and we're trying to develop, and we've been in contact with the coaches as well on the areas we need to focus on. So those are the things we have been working out during the lockdown.
Coming back to you, Tony, what's the current composition of the Referee Society? How many referees are there? And
to begin with, we have about 110 to about 120 members. But there are 3 grades in our society, and 3 panels. So the 3 panels are A, B, and C. In A, we have about 24 guys. And then we have the B, the same amount. So people who are really active, it's about 75 to 80 people who are really active. Others have just come into the scene. They recruited some new guys. They start beginning to referee at the junior level, like the under 12, under 14 games they have been refereeing. All of them have been refereeing. To tell you the mere fact, in the sense, when we went to Singapore to do our level 2 and our level 2, the 5 of us went there, and they said, concentrate on the younger referees. So we are all looking for younger referees. There are 30 to 40 guys who are 45 years old, which is for you, because they will never consider us for our full appointment. Since we have been working on the youngest, now we have got about three guys into the AHU panel now. Of course, in the development panel, not in the main panel. And Akil has gone up above every one of them. He's in the seventh panel now at the moment. That's how it's
So
going on now.
speaking of younger guys and recruitment, now there's no shortage of former players wanting to be coaches because in Sri Lanka coaching is obviously very lucrative, especially at schools level. What's being done about the future recruitment? I mean, are we seeing more youngsters like Akil taking up refereeing?
We have been going around since right around the countryside, like Kurunagala, Badulla, and Kandy and various, looking for youngsters. Most of the former rugby players don't want to become referees for being, they're a little bit scared to come in because of the barracking and things that they get. So we were able to convince people like, the present crowd, and I think they are quite keen. Only thing is we'll have to sort of go forward by, giving them a lot of exposure. At the moment, what's happening now is, these guys are all young. When we started, we retired and we started. And we were about 31, 32 years old. And these kids are just between 20 and 25 years old. So we had to give them a little time to be at the top level. Once in another 1 or 2 years, they'll be top referees in the country. I mean, nobody ever thought of the future earlier, you see. So we are thinking of the future. What do we gain? We don't gain anything. Us keep having older people, we don't gain anything. The youngsters are the guys who are going to take the society forward, the game forward, and all that.
So, Akil, just coming back to you as a young up and coming referee, what made you take up refereeing? What was the main reason?
Because it happened a long time back. Yeah, how I got into this the game of rugby. It was actually a long story. It was actually with my brother. We were used to playing. We were used to play at the police park. We had lots of memories at the police park. So for us and there are a few other, I would say about 15 people from all over the place. So we used to play rough rugger. Sometimes we throw some punches and all. So that's a great moment actually. That's a moment where I got into rugby. And when talk about refereeing, so I have been playing for school for more than 13 years, and it's really hard to give up on the sport. So I have learned lots of valuable things from the sport. So I thought I should be giving back to the sport, and it's not fair to just leave it behind.
Excellent. Now, gentlemen, this show is called Hardball. Here starts the hard questions, the tough questions. I'll start with you, Tony, and then obviously
All right.
Akil will get his opportunity to answer as well. So, my first question is, now there's been a lot of criticism which has been leveled against the referees and the referees society. It's almost like, everything in rugby, even if it rains or there's sunshine, there's some form of connection to the referees. So, my question to both of you, what have you got to say about this, Tony? I mean, is there any truth to all of this? Is this criticism valid? We'll go through up there one by one, but what in general, what are your thoughts about this?
The thoughts are like when we started, like I told you before, we were very, very mature, right? And we knew exactly what to, but still, we made a lot of mistakes when we also started at 32. You understand? So, like, just imagine these young kids coming into referee at 18, 19 years, 20 years. It takes a little time. People must understand, Of course, what happened was there was a big vacuum in the referee society after 2008 and 2009. We had a guy from New Zealand. I forget his name, who came but he did he's a good person, but then the management itself at that time, they have the internet, they never thought of the future. See, all of them who were trained, the 6 referees who were trained at that time, are not training, not refereeing anymore. So what would have happened if we hadn't brought these young people? The young people are the guys who are taking the game forward. That's one of the things. Now they take the game forward, and you see, like when we refereed, there was no technology or all that, AR1 and AR2 and various things. We just refereed on our own. We looked at what was happening, and nobody spoke about it, and nobody even saw what is that. Today, the technology is so good. Papa is doing a wonderful job. I must tell you, everything is seen, whatever mistakes or whatever they do. But I'll tell you something. Be very frank. There are minimum mistakes done by these youngsters. So they take those things very seriously. And also, some of these things like forward pass and crooked throw and all, these are things that they complain. Come on, the game has to go on. There are so many things that has to the game. Now, when a person is offside on the left side and the game goes on the right side, they want to bring it back. All what the referees want is let the game go on. So that is what is happening now. Most people don't understand. You see, and the other thing that why people are shouting at these people is because most of these people who come for the junior games or school matches, right? They are all after alcohol, and they keep on shouting at the referee. Another thing, one good thing is that Isipatana, whatever said, and they control their crowd well. To my own eyes, I have seen Isipatana old boys, people who are drunk, they've been put into a room and kept. That's good. Well, of other schools we don't like Royal and St. Thomas's or no, we don't have any problem. Of course, there are mistakes. Anyway, we are all human beings. These kids are all human beings. So there are mistakes, 1 or 2 mistakes. Maybe if they do about 5 mistakes in a game, I think they have done a wonderful game.
Akhil, I'm going to ask the same question. I mean, as a young referee up and coming and arguably the country's best, you are refereeing in an era where there's a lot of technology, social media, lots of armchair referees sitting behind computers. What have you got to say about all this criticism?
Well, these are the things which we are not within. It's not within our control. So there are spectators who come and shout, and it's actually up to them for them to enjoy the game and not the referees. I think no one will be willing to pay for a ticket and come come to scream or yell at the referee and not watch the game. And I'm sure their only intention is to watch the game and watch their team winning. And when talk about winning, there are lots of things we have to consider. Yes, winning is win at any cost is a correct word, I would say, but it's the way how we derive it. So win at any cost doesn't mean that you have to fight or maybe throw a bottle or two or scream at the referee. Those are not the things we are encouraging. So we ask the people to come watch the game and have an enjoyable evening.
Right. So, Tony, as president of the Referee Society, I'm going to ask you the most commonly used line or most commonly used criticism in Sri Lankan rugby is this refa hora, referees are rogue or referees bend. So, I mean, this has been something which has been consistent for the last few years. What's your take on this? I mean, are there rogue referees in your society? Are referees bent, or is this just all hearsay, hot air from people who constructively criticize you? Well, what's your answer?
But there are a few things to look into. If you take some of the spectators, some of them don't understand the game properly, the game and the laws of the game. Some do understand, and that some people have the mind in their mind, win at any cost. Their school or their club must win at any cost. These are the things that is happening in this country. You see, but the other thing is that we should also understand. People that come to watch a game, they can shout, they can hoot, they can call the referees. All right, it's all right. It's part and parcel of the game. It's okay. But being aggressive towards the referee and threatening a referee is not in the game anyway. We don't encourage that type of thing, and we are very strict about it, you know. And you must understand the core values of the game. You are talking about referees are this, referees are that. They have to go through these values, core values. You know the core values, right? You know, the first is for integrity. I believe in integrity, right? And I believe in discipline. And these guys have that. The present crowd has that. They have the integrity, they have the discipline, they have the passion, and if they have those three, to me, I think they're good to go forward. Only thing people must understand, you know, people who are educated. I'm talking about the people who are educated must understand more than the people who are down there who's watching the game to understand what the game is all about. You see, you can't just complain saying that this referee is that, this referee is that. You said I saw in one game a person who was blind, who was not being able to see, look at the steps that he was walking. He was also shouting a referee hurrah. Can you believe that? And a prominent person sometime back who was walking down the steps, he couldn't even see the steps. People had to hold him and take. A person like that, what can you imagine when things come out from people who are educated, where rugby is concerned?
I think and that's a tremendous answer. Really good example as well. I mean, there's a good old saying, isn't there, Tony? People who live in glass houses shouldn't throw stones. So, Akhil, I wanna come to you. Couple of years back, I think maybe 3 seasons ago, the St. Joseph's St. Peter's game where you were the on-field referee, and I think it was Anil Jaisingh who was the TMO. There was a very interesting, well, it was a game-changing incident. It was a red card, spear tackle. I think that was a really good example where you could hear the crowd was baying for a card, and it was a divided opinion, but you made the right call. Can you just talk us through that decision, how everything happened, and just so that everyone understands when a tough call like that has to be made, what the process is, please?
We are talking about the TMO process. So at that point, I had a few doubts, which I wanted to refer to my AR, assistant referee, and I'm sure there was a foul play. I was sure that there was a foul play, and I wanted to go upstairs just to refer it to be in the safer side. So the referee agreed to it, and we went accordingly. And as I was in the grounds, I was unable to see the screen. So I asked that day the team was Anil Jaisingh. So I asked him to refer the foul play as well as the number of the player number. So I think he gave the correct decision, and I should be grateful to get some opinion from him as well. And I reviewed my game afterwards, and I thought that's a good call. And we have been using the available resources. As you said, the ThePapare have been doing a great job on that as well.
Absolutely. The ThePapare.com, the best platform for rugby in Sri Lanka. And bang on you, I reviewed that on my screen a number of times, and you got the call spot on. I think it was a really good example of how the on-field official should consult the TMO. So, Tony, if you're doing any training for up-and-coming referees on how the protocol should be handled, there you go. Now, Tony, I'm going to come back to you. Another allegation of sorts is that match appointments. That, certain referees are being appointed for certain games. So we hear all these internet referees and internet warriors. They cry foul about this. Is there any truth to this? What is your response to this?
Well, let me tell you, I'm the chairman of the assignment committee at the moment. You see, and we have about 4 other guys who are in the committee with me. And we are very fair in assigning. And in the sense how we assign is, say, on their capabilities. We don't deviate from that, Say, look for instance, if he's referring well, there are certain games, there are certain instances where we can't have the referees in some of the game because either they are old boys of the school or maybe there are some affiliation with somebody. We don't put that. We are very careful, but it's a tough. It's a hell of a big task, To do assigning is a bit difficult thing. So we go through a lot of things when we assign referees, and we are the thing is, at the end of the day, I have to take the brunt, I mean, in the sense I have to take all what that comes, as being a chairman of the. But I mean, I'm quite used to this type of thing. You see, in the sense, and with all this experience and the big bets thrown at the referees and all of us, I'm quite used to it. I am just not bothered. It's just that if guys are refereeing at their best and if they are refereeing well, that's it. You see, there is no such things at all in the sense. You see, we have to be very careful in the sense. Now, see, they talk about the candy refereeing. We can't be sending Colombo referees all the time to candy, and some of them they say don't send referees from Colombo. It's a lot of very expensive sending them, giving them traveling. All that is expensive. So we have to look at all those things. It's the toughest job. It's a hell of a task assigning referees. Both.
Yeah, look, I agree. And logistics, that's a very fair answer, Tony. It's a very fair answer. Now, foreign referees, I mean, what's your take on this? I mean, is it a good thing? Is it a bad thing? Because are getting foreign referees down to Sri Lanka, are they going to
You-
hinder opportunities for local refs? And
my
particularly
my
with the Bradby Shield, which is the blue ribbon event now. Akhil was the referee last year for the Bradby first leg. I mean, what's your view on this? Do you think this is a good thing, getting foreign referees to referee in Sri Lanka?
what is wrong with our referees? I don't think there is anything wrong with our referees. You see, when are we going to give them the exposure? Handling match with a big crowd. You're behind them. You see, those days when I was refereeing, when I see the crowd, I get myself projected and I do quite well. But if there's no crowd, you also tend to be lazy and all that. Your reactions, your signals. You try to, you don't, you're not that, sort of projected to do well, but when you see a crowd, you also want to open out, and various things, and that's what we do. And this present guy is also learning the same thing now, which I've been sort of talking to them and sort of educate. Come on, boys, this is what you must do. Show yourself, come off best, show the world that you're one of the best referees. Do this, do that. You can be the best. Don't worry about anything. When you get on the field, think that you're the best, and carry on. Don't have any fear for anybody. I'm there. Don't worry. Like that's the way I talk to them. I think I think these guys are good, but it takes a little time to be very good in a sense.
So speaking of big crowds, 75th Bradby Shield, Palle Kalle, Akhil, you were the referee. I was calling the game from the commentary box, and a Royal player and Trinity player had a big head clash. And I can still remember the crowd. They were absolutely baying for blood. They wanted a card, preferably a red card. But I was first to call it on air and said no, it was just big contact, head clash, nothing more, nothing less. And I was hoping it would just be a penalty. That's exactly what it was, and you made the right call. So for the benefit of the fans watching at home, can you just talk us through that, if you can remember, please?
Yeah, it was actually a disastrous moment because the player was seriously injured, and I was more concerned towards the player rather than make a decision at that point. All what I did was I stopped the game and call the doctor immediately. Then it took a few seconds and spoken to the AR, and he gave some feedback. And I wanted to review because to make sure, is it worth enough to go for a red card, or are we are we going to stick to the process, the proper process? After the refer from the assistant referee, I went towards a TMO, and it was reviewed. Again, I was unable to cite through the screen, and Mr. Anijay Singh told me that it's a head clash. My only doubt was, was there any realistic position for the royal player to go a bit lower, or maybe go towards lower than the chest? But I thought he made a valuable, a reasonable contact. So on all what I can give was a penalty at that moment. So that was the process, and Mr. Anijay Singh made a call, and we moved on with it.
Now, thank God it was the correct call, because I was vocally saying that it was only a penalty. So it vindicated both of us. Now, I'm just going to change the questions a little bit here. So, speaking of cards, now yellow cards. Whenever we watch a game in Sri Lanka, there's no shortage of yellow cards. It's like referees are handing out business cards, like insurance salespeople. And it's a real bugbear. Now, my question, and I'm putting it to both of you, first to Tony and then to Akil. Why are there so many yellow cards? I mean, are these yellow cards justifiable? I mean, is it the referees? Are the referees on like a quota system to issue yellow cards, or do the players and coaches also have to take some blame?
The referees who came here from Singapore, Hong Kong, and from Thailand, they were not the top class referees. You see, they came here, they refereed the game, they got the exposure, they got the experience, and went back. You see, we should be doing that. We should send our referees outside to get more exposure and more experience to come back and referee, which we have been doing. We have sent about up to now about 10 to 12 referees abroad for various, but mostly it was sevens. I wish we could send them for 15-a-side games, and then they'll be on top. So, but thing is, what happens is, well, we must gain, not that they gain. Usually, when they send these people who are right down the line in their country, they come here, they do with the crowd over here, and with the type of people, they get the exposure and they get the experience, and they go back. So this is what I don't understand, why people are so eager to get foreign referees to referee. Of course, if they get people like Nigel Owen, Wayne Barnes, all of them, then of course our people can learn from them. I don't mind bringing people like that, no, of the highest class.
Of course, speaking of Wayne Barnes, we all know what happened in the 2007 World Cup. So I personally think he's lucky to be referee. So.
But he is a good facilitator. I have spoken to him in Singapore. Super facilitator. He tells you exactly what to do, what not to do, and nice person, lovely person. You can learn a lot from him. If these boys can talk to him, maybe I think Akil had a chat with him in Singapore. I think, and some of our referees had a chat with him. Lovely person.
Akil, can you relate a little bit about your chat and experience you had with Wayne Barnes, arguably one of the best referees in the world at the moment?
Well, I met Craig Jubei, not Wayne Barnes. So I met Craig Jubei in Singapore. So he gave some finer points on how to referee. He gave some important things, which on field we are just staying there for 80 minutes, but it's about the preparation. What you do off field is much more important than going into the field. So let's say you are not well prepared to the game, and you're just going for the sake of blowing the whistle. You won't be able to enjoy the game. So it's where it starts from, where you learn to know the importance of handling, or maybe the game preparation.
Right, gentlemen, now I'm going to ask you about the yellow card. Now, this is what I call yellow fever. Every game without fail in Sri Lanka, both schools and clubs, we see yellow card after yellow card being issued. It's almost like referees are handing out business cards, like insurance sales. My question to you is, are all these yellow cards necessary? Are they fair? Is it something with the referees, or have the players and coaches, have they got to play a part in all this as well? What is your response? Tony first, and then referee.
Yeah, I'll tell you. In the mere fact, I have handled you, right? You see, have I asked you to go and do the wrong thing on the field? No way. You see, but you see nowadays, however much the referee speaks to these people, don't do it, don't do that, don't do this, don't go above the shoulders, don't late tackle. They just don't seems to understand. There are so the only way that you could stop this nonsense is by giving a yellow card. Once you give a yellow card, then they understand by why they've been given a yellow. Then it cools down. So this is the only way that you can handle these people in this country. Ask me. There's about 20 penalties in this country. 20 to 25 penalties all the time. In a average 20 penalties in this country, so which I don't understand. I don't know why they're doing it. You ask them not to bring the scrum down, they do the same thing. You see now, for instance, now what we do a test here in the sense we get the front rows and we just tell them to go bind and go in and go into a scrum and they go in perfectly. They go in. But say if you whisper to one of the profs and say, make a karapang, when he does that, he does it. So this is how we is going. Because most of them want to collapse when they can't hold the scrum, they want to collapse the scrum. Or they want to wheel the scrum. You see, this is what is happening. Which is very simple. Do the simple things right, as I say before to you guys. Do the simple things right. Don't do unnecessary things. That's how I look at it.
Referee Jamal, your answer to that: yellow card fever and handing out business cards, or is it justified?
Again, we are talking about the trends in Sri Lanka. So I would say 80% of the cards issued per season is for dangerous play, and maybe the rest will be on unfair plays. And we need to win to ask ourselves why we are issuing this card, because a card should have some value when you issue a card. So I think I would say 78% of them are correct calls, and we need to deal with it, and we shouldn't just ignore it for the sake of the number of cards. So a referee should deal with it and should not be afraid of issuing a card or maybe a red card. So that's one of the positives we have in Sri Lanka. But only thing is we need to work on a bit on the process, and other than that we are perfectly fine. And when talking about the player respect, I wanted to share a video, the Twilagi video. He shows 3 good things in that video. The first thing was it was an unfortunate contact, and based on the process, the referee made the right call. And what Twilagi did was, when the issue of the red card was given to the player, he just went off from that. And the second good thing what he did was he apologized the teammates, as you see in the video. And the third thing what he did do is he gives a handshake to the opponent. That's where the sportsmanship is actually, and that should be an example to the others as well.
So there you go, players, coaches. This is great feedback from the referee's boss and the country's top ref. If you want lesser cards, be compliant. And I actually agree with both of you, because referees are there to police the game. They can only uphold the laws. If you want to be compliant, make sure you stick to the laws and don't break it, because there's no point blaming the referees when you break the law, because they have to uphold it. So it's a two-way street. So I think very valid criticism from both of you to the perpetrators, and also very good feedback. So if I was a coach and if I was a player, I'd be taking your advice. Now, Tony, I'm going to ask about something I have written quite strongly, and something which I have felt about quite strongly, is this violence against referees. In my view, violence on the field to referees, players, it's unacceptable. Over the last few seasons, we have seen plenty of this violence against referees, and some of these perpetrators have got off scot-free, even though there's plenty of evidence. What is your view on this? And also, if any of your members are subjected to violence, I mean, what is your stance on this?
Yeah, it's like Lisbo in the sense it's not very much where club games are concerned, but school games, yes, it is. It is. There's a lot of violence in the school games. The reason is there are junior games being played around from one club onwards, and the parents who bring these kids, they go into the bar and they have a couple of shots, and they're virtually, most of them are drunk at 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock, they're virtually drunk. This is the reason. When somebody shouts and said, they also follow suit, and it keeps on going. I have seen to my own eyes. Having the child next to him, he uses bad words. I think more than what happened was we had a meeting with the sports ministry one day, and then I told him I stressed out this point to him, and I said, "This is what is happening." But he was very gracious enough to stop all the bars. During school matter, no bars open, and then the crowd control started improving. Thereafter we didn't have, and also what happened was a guy who had refereed at his best, a chap called Dilum Deshan. He refereed so well in a under 16 final at Royal College grounds. He was almost manhandled, but luckily we had some guys from the police who were referees and some army guys who were referees. We actually took them into the room and we manhandled them. After that, there was no problem. After that, we gave them the same medicine. After that, now things are getting in there. They know exactly what we have to. But also, we are also on our guard now. We get some people to come and be around with us. We are united now. We get together. We do things together, and we are also ready to face any situation.
Now, Tony, another question I have for you is, some former referees, some previous referees have voiced some criticism of the current society. Now, I'm not going to go into names or anything specific. In your view, are some of these criticisms fair, or is this airing their views in the wrong way? I mean, what's your response to all this?
The sports law itself, some people can't get into the referees committee. That is one, and the other thing is we are also sometimes. I feel that we also at fault sometimes, by keeping them out. I think the people. I don't want to mention names. I think we should all get together, bring all of them together, and be united and work towards the goal. This is what I'm trying to do from now on. When I took over, this is what I said, and this is what I'm going to do now. And it's going to all have to be united. Other, you can't take this game forward. You can't take the referees forward if we each other are going to have a fight against each other. We must be very united, like one family, and keep going. Otherwise, it will never go forward. Whether it is rugby or whether it is refereeing, we must be united.
Well, elegantly put, Tony, very statesmanlike. Now, question for you, Akhil. Referee education has been a hot topic as current referee and current on-field referee. Can you just tell the fans about what does the Sri Lanka Referee Society do for referee education currently? Not too long, just a brief version, please.
Yeah, as I mentioned before, we are more structured than ever before because this comes all by experience. So we have to improve day by day. So we have good coaches as well. We have been taught good knowledge. They share their experience with us. And when talking about the past and the present, past you had less law interpretation, and you didn't have social media or cameras or much of cameras those days. So it's easy for the referee to handle the game. When it comes to the current games, we have cameras all over the place, and you may crowd shout for no reason, maybe from one corner to another. If the game is playing on another corner, the other corner, the people may scream at saying that he's offside. So let's say you have a game of 80 minutes, 68 minutes of the game will be heard in the ground. saying referee, linesman, what he says, and I don't know, lots of things they talk about at the grounds. I would say again, coming back to the point where I talked about the tickets. So, are you willing to pay the tickets and come to watch a great game of rugby and enjoy the evening, or just to come there and scream at the referee and go home? If that's a thing you're expecting from the game. I would rather prefer you stay at home rather than destroying the game.
That's a great answer. It's a very witty answer from Akhil. Now I'm going to have a couple more questions, gentlemen, and then we'll wrap it up. Now, if any team feels that they're aggrieved or they're victims of bad refereeing or whatever, I mean, what's the correct process? Is there a process where they can take this up with you or the union and address what they feel is being a victim of bad refereeing or bad calls? Is there such a process? I'll go to you first, Tony.
Yes, I knew you would come to this because you had spoken to Master earlier on, and he had a small go at me saying I am his friend. But what he says is also true. You can't sort of deviate from the constitution. That's what is right. But what I'm saying is we can't have double standards. In the sense, when you have a review committee or a technical committee, they must always adhere to what the World Rugby says. You got to have a level 2 or to be an educator to be in the review committee. But when I see, I still don't want to mention them. There are 2 people who don't have any qualifications and all are reviewing our referees. Of course, Dilroy is one of the top people. I'm mentioning his name because he's an educator and he's a CM, and he has been going around in the Asian countries and all various other places. Like, he was the only person who was eligible. But when it comes to a review, they must also listen to the coach, what he says, his opinion. They only take one. It's only one sided. So there's got to be 2 sides. So it should always be a win-win situation when you do a review. You can't just take and say no, he's wrong, and keep throwing at the referee, or maybe throwing at the coach. You got to be very, very partial in whatever you do.
Excellent. Akhil, have you got anything to add to that?
Yeah, just to add on to that, Tony was speaking about the review process. So there are certain things referees should take for their future game, and there are certain things we shouldn't take. So on average, we have I won't say a number of complaints. I'll say there are a huge number of complaints when compared to the other countries. I have never seen in other countries the number of the complaints we get from the clubs or the schools. So it clearly shows that they are focused on the referees rather than the player development. And we as referees, we have a process on how we review the game, and for each decision doesn't mean that the penalty is not just a decision. So during a game, we make around 600-700 decisions, which may include a tackle, a ruck, or maybe while running, if it's a line out, we made a decision at that point as well. So we make around 600 decisions. So it's not fair enough to write down complaints like that and come saying that he does it wrong, and we shouldn't appoint him as the referee. And the other thing I want to get into is that referees do make mistakes. They need to learn by experience. Not only the current refs, maybe the World Cup refs as well. They are still learning as well. So when we had a quick chat recently, we had a quick chat with Nick Berry. He's one of the referees who are in the world panel. So he was saying, you may make mistakes, but it's up to you either to improve or focus on the criticism or maybe complaints you get. So it's time to move on. And if you get complaints, and recently I've seen some articles. We are still talking about the past games, and it clearly shows that we have not moved on. And that's where rugby lacks, and we need to correct our mistakes. It takes time. Even that humans are not perfect, as you have heard it from everywhere. Humans are not perfect, and we need to learn from our mistakes, and we should not repeat the same mistake again. And if you make a mistake, there may be lack of preparation, and we need to correct on that as well.
Okay, so gentlemen, one last question. Now, speaking of sometimes making mistakes and getting it wrong, now when players get it wrong, they get dropped. And when coaches get it wrong, if they get it wrong for too long, they get fired. So, with referees, is there a similar system? Because now, when players and coaches, especially coaches at school level, when they feel the referee has done something wrong, they are the first to say the referee needs to be taken off or not referee. But conversely, if the players or the coaches have a bad game, the referees never go back and ask, please drop the player or coach. So, what's the system? How does it happen? Over to you, very briefly, please.
Right. I'll answer a very easy question. But I will not mention names, but we have done that. Like dropping a player from the team. We've also dropped a couple of referees down from A division to B division. And some of them have not met the criteria. They are not in the A panel. So it's the same process. If somebody comes today and if he referees better than a guy who has been refereeing for 10 years, he goes forward because his future is better than the guy who has been refereeing for 10 years. So because he shows the quality and his integrity, then he should go forward. Don't you think so? We have the same process like selecting a team. For me, it's very easy because I've been coaching, I've been refereing. It's a little easier task than anyone else because I am quite used to all these type of people. I handle so many type of players, all sort of from all over the countryside. So it's not difficult for me. Sometimes people say I'm too much of a gentleman. And some people say it takes that weakness also. I'm quite used to it. As long as the game is played, as long as the referee well, it matters to me. That's all it matters because as a leader of the referee society, I will always protect the society. I will always protect the referees. And if they're bad, I will always say that they're bad. That's Tony.
Well, spoken like the Tony I've always known. Now, gentlemen, again, I'm going to wrap things up. So I want to say on behalf of myself, on the show, and ThePapare.com and fans out there, thank you very much for coming on the show. We really thrashed out some really tough. I asked you some real hard questions. Like I said, this is called hardball. I don't ask you what your favorite flavor of the ice cream or what's your favorite song. Instead, I ask you the difficult questions. So, any last words, Tony first? Akhil second, please.
First and foremost, I must thank you for being us on board. I must thank ThePapare, and I appreciate what you are doing. And I was waiting for this opportunity to tell you what I had in my heart. I spoke through my heart, not from. I didn't even read out or prepare myself. It's from my heart, my dear. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Very well. Referee Jamal?
First of all, I would like to thank ThePapare as well as Boa for giving us the opportunity to talk. And we'd like to give some points to the crowd as well. Just you come watch the game, and you should not come for the sake of screaming towards the referee. And just come and have a great evening, enjoy the game. And for the coaches, you are one of the main parts in the rugby field, and we as referees, we need to be with you all. We need to be together to uplift this game of rugby. So we need to facilitate the players to make sure they reach higher heights, maybe reach the World Cup in the near future. Let's not criticize anyone. Let's move on with our mistakes, and we'll make sure our players showcase their talent, maybe in the World Cup, as I said.
Right. Thank you very much. Okay, gentlemen, appreciate the time. I'll let you guys leave, and then I'll wrap this show with my exit.
We the
Super
same.
stuff. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you
Thanks,
very
bro.
much.
Thank you
Thank you.
very much.
There you go, folks. You heard it here first. Wow, that was intense stuff, wasn't it? I thought there's some very tough questions we asked Tony Amit and Akhil Jamaluddin. I thought they spoke and gave some very honest, upfront answers. I just want to say thank you very much again for all you fans. I got a lot of messages asking me who my guests are going to be and what is this hot topic. There you go. There's the answer. So no doubt, next week, same time, we'll have something interesting for you. In the meantime, stay safe, be nice, be kind. You know the drill. Hi. See you soon.
Subscribe to our YouTube channel for more videos like this. And don't forget to hit the bell icon for our latest content.